If you want your plants to thrive, this video is for you. We'll show you one simple free addition to your soil that can make all the difference. Hey, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Grow Lab. If you want to connect with the best growers from all over the world, get tips and tricks on how to grow the dankest plants possible, and not have to worry about the censorship we get from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Go check out realgrowlab.com. Get all kinds of great Grow Talk Q&A. Plus, see all the stuff YouTube won't let me show you in these videos. Sign up and join our growing community over at realgrowlab.com. Or download the app at the Apple or Android App Store. Now let's get back to today's video. Come on, High C, let's get into this one.
Okay, man, you promised that this is going to be something free.
Yeah, it's air, man, air.
Air, okay. I don't think about air first when I think about soil and plants. Why do I need air in my soil?
Because roots need to breathe. They need to breathe, they need to expand, and all that, a nice air, rich soil loaded with aerobic. They breathe, bacteria, fungi, all those microbes need to surround the plant roots. They need to surround the soil particles. All of them need to breathe.
Okay, so what can go wrong if I don't have a good amount of air mixed in with my soil?
First off, the microbes can't grow. Microbes are aerobic, so they need to breathe. So if there's no air for them, then they just can't grow. The only things that can grow and thrive is anaerobic microbes, and those are the ones that rot things, so decomposers. So that's why we need air first off. And then second of all, man, just think like soil compaction, really compacted soil, how things don't grow. This root it's a tender little root. It needs to be able to expand, and it can't do that if it's just, if it's like a clay pot on top of it, So
Right.
it needs a little bit of airspace to be able to move through there.
Clay was exactly what I was thinking of. I was like, man, no wonder in clay areas like Adobe, deserts,
Sure.
stuff doesn't grow very well.
Well, you ever been outside my house? I planted stuff 6 months ago. It's still not growing because it's in clay, and that clay it's the smallest particle there is. It's clay has a ton of surface area to hold nutrients, but it is so tiny it gets compacted together, so it's no good for the most part.
Okay, in the past, I've heard you talk about air to water ratio.
Sure.
And I'm assuming that since air's in that word or those words, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's just how much when something is completely saturated, a media is saturated, how much air it can still hold. So we were just talking about clay. Clay is so compacted together that when it's completely saturated, it can't hold any air, barely any air. That's why you can't grow in clay very easily.
So I need a good air mix in my soil, and that does have something to do with the air to water.
Oh, sure.
And you also talked about microbes, anaerobic versus aerobic.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if I don't have a good amount of air in my soil, what happens if I do have the right microbes, but I just don't have the good amount of air in there?
You're going to have one dead right microbe, meaning that they're not going to be able to multiply. These are aerobic microbes. They need to breathe, and then they need to exhale. And if there's no air for them to breathe, then they can't exhale. And by the way, in aerobics, what do? You breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide, right?
Uh-huh.
Plants like carbon dioxide, don't they? That's what they breathe.
Okay, so those microbes, even if I've got something powerful like recharge and I'm pouring it on, if I don't have the right air ratios in my soil, they're just going to die?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's planted in compacted soil before, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It's an ecosystem in there. As much as we want to think it's just some dirt in there, no, it's organic materials, it's minerals, it's a lot of airspace, and then it's a lot of microorganisms, little teeny tiny bugs, that soil food web,
Okay, so let's talk about some ways to aerate to get the right amount of air.
Sure.
And let's just start with the base media. What's the top base medias to work with to get that right air to water, air to media mix?
Yeah, peat is super popular because it holds a lot of air. It does. Peat, I'm thinking, peat moss pro mix, those type of things. It's the base for most indoor garden potted mixes.
House plants, I see a lot of peat moss.
Yeah, because it's very forgiving, and it does hold a lot of water.
Okay, the one that you like to use though.
It's cocoa. Cocoa's like peat on steroids, man. It can hold a lot of water and it holds a lot of air. It's really hard to overwater cocoa. That's why I use it in my real buckets.
Okay. And say I'm using something other than cocoa. Maybe I'm using peat moss. Maybe I'm using a more organic type build a soil or something.
There you go. Those can be heavy. I just don't want to interrupt. When you're using a compost heavy soil, those can be really heavy. So you do need some aeration in them.
And how do I do that?
There's perlite is the one that everybody uses. There's some vermiculite. There's perlite that people add. That's the one that I would just reach for because it's easy. Perlite is like they take shale and they pop it like popcorn. So there is pumice, lava rock people will use.
All right, real quick recap, Scotty. Why do I need proper aeration in my media, man?
Okay, your roots breathe, right? They need to expand. They need to move around. So you need to give them a little bit of room for that. Microbes, the same thing. They need to breathe. They need to multiply. So you need to give them some room for that. If you don't, then you got to worry about things going anaerobic, pathogens showing up and rotting your root system. Hey, but that is just me. That is how I keep plenty of aeration in my soil, keep my soil thriving. But what about you? Did I miss something? If so, let me know in the comments. And if you dug this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, share this video with another grower you know, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending. I think you'll dig them.